Yo, hello, welcome. It is happy February. We've made it through 1 month of 2021. It's Bryan and Ryan. I'm Brian Houston. That's Ryan Peterson. Ryan, boy, 2021 has just been completely different.
Yeah, it's been worse. Hasn't it?
Okay, see you
Maybe
later.
maybe that's taking it too far, but yeah, not a list.
Let's just say we've covered a lot of ground in 4 weeks.
Yeah, we have.
uh, it's and I'm and I thought maybe after the election it would be quieter. That's not the case at the moment. So maybe someday, but not now. Okay. No football over the weekend except the Senior Bowl, and the only person I really wanted to see play was Mac Jones because he was the best quarterback at the Senior Bowl. Kellen Mond ended up doing pretty well in the game, so he may have made himself some money. But the big news of the week, I guess of the weekend, was something that never happens in the NFL, and that is a massive blockbuster trade of quarterbacks from one team to another. Matthew Stafford goes to the Los Angeles Rams for the Rams 2022 first round pick, 2023 first round pick, 2021 third round pick, and their starting quarterback Jared Goff. What do you think? Who won that one?
Well, a part of me, I mean, look, the easy answer is you would say the Lions won because if you get two first-round picks, plus a three and a Super Bowl starting quarterback in exchange for, Stafford, you would have to say they would win it. However, I do think there's a chance that the Rams will feel like they won it if Stafford plays to the ability I think he can. I think Stafford, he's such a talented guy, and I think he's just been in a really bad situation his whole career. I think you put Stafford with Sean McVay's mind. I think there's a chance for that to be really good. I think for the Rams, though, they need to hope that this is more than just like a two-year thing. They need to hope because Stafford is 33,
Yeah.
and quarterbacks are playing much older now. I mean, Breeze and Brady have made it look like you can just play until you're 50. But we'll see. But if they can get 5 years out of them, I think it was worth it for them. Because the other thing too, if the Rams are really good, those first round picks they sent to Detroit aren't going to be high picks anyways. But good for Detroit. They're in a rebuild. And the big thing for them, I didn't think that they would get back. And look, I'm not a huge Goff fan, but I mean, again, he has had some really good games. He led a team to the Super Bowl. So for them to, trade away their franchise quarterback and get another guy that's been a solid NFL quarterback in return, I think, they had to be thrilled with that.
The thing for me, number one, is that they were obviously done with Goff. Everything that the coach and the GM were saying was so non-committal.
Yeah.
They just if he was a franchise quarterback, they certainly didn't think so. So for whatever reason, he fell so far out of favor that he didn't even start the last playoff game. Wofford started and got hurt, and then they put Goff in because they had no choice.
Yeah.
So for whatever reason, they've completely lost all confidence in Jared Goff. I don't know what happened. I didn't think he was that bad. I didn't think he was that great. He certainly was not, in my mind, he was not what a number one overall pick ought to be.
The crazy thing is, it was 2 years ago. If you remember, it was the game that everyone was like, oh, the NFL is ruined. There's no defense. The Rams and the Chiefs played on prime time, and Goff out-dueled Patrick Mahomes. He threw for over 500 yards and 5 touchdowns. So he has the ability, but and I don't know, maybe the offense that the Rams have run that is, very, very heavy in terms of running the football, maybe, it'll be good for Goff to get out of that. But I think the Rams are thrilled, even though most people would be like, well, you gave away a lot for Stafford. I think McVay's thrilled because he's got a guy he thinks he can win a Super Bowl with now. I think the Lions have to be happy because they got draft picks, some good draft picks, and they still get a guy that is a capable NFL starter. So look, I don't know that Goff. I know Goff had said he felt good that he's going to a team that really wants him. I don't know how much the Lions really want him, but I think it's definitely better than some of the other alternatives they could have had.
I will just the numbers real quick. I don't know what a lot of these mean anymore. I don't really know anything other than when you put Goff up against Stafford. Stafford's quarterback rating was 96.3. Goff's was 90. So Stafford, even playing on a bad team, still outperformed him last year. I think Stafford's got a lot of football left in him. I think he's still got a top 5 arm.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I think that you put a guy with that much experience in there as well. I think that obviously the Rams think they've got a team that they've got to win now. I mean, you only have Aaron Donald for so long. Their defense is spectacular, and the offense has kept them from being a Super Bowl winner. You mentioned 22 years ago, the shootout with the Chiefs, but what I keep thinking about is how pitiful the Rams offense performed against the Patriots in the Super Bowl with Goff.
Yeah.
So he's got ability. It's not consistent, and they've spent 3 years with him now. The interesting thing about the Rams, man, they do not value first-round draft picks. They've had one since 2016.
Yeah.
And that one was Jared Goff.
And they won't have another one until 2024.
So they are all in. They have pushed the chips to the center of the table to say we're going to win now.
The one thing I'll say about the Rams, and then we can move on, is I think conventional wisdom is like, what are they doing? You don't just, how do you not have first round picks 6 straight years? But the reality is they've still been good. They've been a playoff team. They went to a Super Bowl. I kind of like that they don't care what everyone else thinks, and that if they think they're close and they think this move is going to get us there, they're going to do it. Because I think a lot of times it's like this old school thought process of, well, we can't give away that draft capital or this and that. And they're like, I don't care. I know this guy's proven. Again, those draft picks, you don't know what they're going to turn out to be. How many front offices have butchered a bunch of good draft picks, positioning? So credit to them for at least being bold and going for it, because, at least if I'm a fan, at least I'm saying, look, I know they're swinging for the fences.
The thing that I do like about what the Rams did is that they're not sitting there hanging on to Jared Goff because he was the number 1 pick. They're willing to admit we didn't make the right pick. Right. I like that, as opposed to the Eagles, who are going to go down with the ship with Carson Wentz, even if Jalen Hurts may be the better quarterback. So you got to respect that. Right or wrong, you have to respect it. I respected Washington getting rid of Haskins. The first round pick didn't matter. Haskins showed he wasn't willing to work hard, gone. I like that. If you see something like that, that's the thing. I wonder what red flags went off in places we don't see that caused McVay and company to sour on Goff the way they did.
And you make a good point there, because I believe it's worse to not admit you made a mistake, because I think it puts you in a long trend of bad years, as opposed to making the mistake but quickly realizing it. Case in point, as a Bronco fan, John Elway traded up for Paxton Lynch. The next year, instead of being bold and making a move for someone like Patrick Mahomes or Deshaun Watson, LA felt so snake bit, and it was like, no, we got to give him another year. It's like, you have to know if you can figure it out quick, because look, if you pick quarterbacks in back-to-back years, but one of them works out, who cares? Because all it's about is getting it right one time. I don't think, and I know the Cardinals ended up missing the playoffs, but I don't think the Cardinals regret moving on from Josh Rosen quickly and going and getting Kyler Murray. I think your team is in much worse shape if you try to hold on to this bad choice you made to try to prove that eventually it's going to work out, because the NFL is unforgiving, and you'll end up being in a long stretch of, bad seasons.
You want to talk Super Bowl, or you want to talk Deshaun Watson?
Let's talk Deshaun first, because if Stafford is worth 2 first-round picks, a third-rounder, and a solid NFL starting quarterback, what is Deshaun Watson going to be worth when he's so much younger? I think it's
everybody I watched on any kind of sports show this past weekend said, whatever it takes. So if you want to do the Mike Ditka, I'm going to trade my entire draft for Ricky Williams. Maybe somebody's crazy enough to do that for Deshaun Watson, but basically it's almost unanimous across the board. The Jets, people like that, whatever it takes, you get Deshaun Watson. I don't know that I'd go that far, but there's no doubt he's a great quarterback and he's a great person. And it's kind of hard to go wrong with that, but boy, the price is going to be high.
Yeah, my fear is the Stafford deal is going to jack it up so high that it's almost going to be impossible for Deshaun to live up to whatever compensation is sent. And, the thing is, Deshaun Watson's a really good quarterback, but he's not a Patrick Mahomes level guy where him being on the team guarantees you to be a playoff team. I mean, look at the Texans this past year. Watson had an unbelievable statistical season and they won 4 games. So, that to me is where obviously I think any team would want to have him that needs a quarterback, but are you willing to give up an entire draft or 4 first-round picks for a guy that, again, does not guarantee that you will, be a playoff team? If the Jets get Deshaun Watson, are they a playoff team? I don't think they are.
No.
I don't think. And then they're going to have to give away all that draft capital. So the Dolphins would make more sense because they were already a 10-win team. And maybe you put Watson on that roster. I would say they are a playoff team. But every situation is not going to be equal. And it's going to come down to who's willing to, like you said, possibly give away a whole draft or, multiple years of first-round picks. I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is going to be. And then if you're the Texans, I know they're saying we're not trading him. But if someone offers you, a crazy deal, I don't care if it is Deshaun Watson. If he doesn't want to be there and someone offers you a crazy deal you can't refuse, you're gonna send him.
Well, it just shows that what a dysfunctional mess the Texans organization is when you start talking about comparing him and Mahomes and how much luck plays into it, because Mahomes landed in the perfect spot. Deshaun Watson was unlucky enough to end up with Cal McNair as the owner, making some of the most ridiculous decisions. And I don't know anything about David Culley, but I know that they had told Deshaun Watson that he would have some input into the GM and the coach hire. He was not included in either. So it's almost like they went out of their way to squeeze him out after promising they were going to give him a voice. So that being said, now let's talk about the Super Bowl. Chiefs, I want to say Patriots, it's Bucks. Chiefs, Bucks, it's the young Buck, Patrick Mahomes against the legend, the GOAT, Tom Brady. Thoughts?
So many storylines to this game. I think the NFL, especially in a COVID year that has been weird, but they have to be thrilled by this matchup, Brady and Mahomes. They've had some classic games against each other. It is interesting. The Bucks have not lost since they lost to the Chiefs earlier this year. I think Kansas City has set the bar so high that they're the team to beat. And if they're on, I don't see anybody beating them. But this is so interesting because Patrick is still so young, but I've already seen multiple people saying that if Patrick eventually wants to be considered the greatest of all time, he has to win this game. Because losing to a Brady that's in his 40s like this, Brady would cement himself. So, a lot of cool storylines from the legacy of these two quarterbacks. The Buccaneers have been a dumpster fire as a franchise since they won their last Super Bowl. Should be interesting, but I still think the Chiefs are just too good. When these teams played earlier this year, the Chiefs were up 17-0 in the first quarter, and then the Buccaneers rallied with a couple garbage time touchdowns. But the one thing the Bucs are going to have to do, which I do think is the one thing they can possibly take advantage of. Look, Patrick, maybe the bye week will help him, but that turf toe you have noticed, he just, look, not that he hasn't been good, but he still doesn't look 100% healthy. And they lost their starting left tackle, Eric Fisher tore his Achilles. They've been without their right tackle, and the Bucs, the reason they beat Green Bay is they got pressure without blitzing. And that's how you beat Patrick Mahomes. That's the best way to beat him. I mean, he hardly loses. But so Shaq Barrett and Jason Pierre-Paul, if they can beat those backup tackles and Vita Vea coming up the middle, make Patrick Mahomes' life a little more difficult, then I think they have a chance. But again, Patrick is like a cheat code. He always seems to have a response to anything.
And he's throwing to a cheat code and Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
So the other side of that, I think that Brady, now that he's got somebody to dump it off to, when he can get the ball out of his hands in a hurry, he's not just always having to throw it deep. That's a big factor. I think they've got to get pressure on Brady. Brady really does, he's like any quarterback. It's stupid to say you got to get pressure on him. It really rattles him. Well, it rattles any quarterback when they get pressure, right, especially if they get it up the middle. So I think that, the Chiefs defense can do that. And then you got the Honey Badger on the back end who can create plays all over the place. I think it's going to be a great game. I really do think it's going to be a terrific ball game. When it's all said and done, I kind of feel like you do. I think the Chiefs are going to win the game. The main reason I think the Chiefs will win the game is because Andy Reid's not going to do the stupid things that the Green Bay coach did. Matt LaFleur made really dumb decisions. Andy Reid's not going to make dumb decisions. Andy Reid's going to play to win. I love the coaching matchup, actually. I think these two guys are very much alike. Arians he's a go for it, keep the foot on the gas kind of guy too.
And to me, because the Chiefs are so much different than really any team we've seen, you have to be aggressive. You got to go for fourth downs. You can't go 3 and out. You can't be punting from the 40, 45-yard line. So it will be interesting. One other thing one other strength of the Bucs, but I just don't think it matters against the Chiefs, is the Bucs run defense is really good. The Chiefs do not have to run. The Chiefs honestly could throw the ball 50 times and not run once, and it honestly wouldn't, I don't think, affect anything. Mahomes would still move the ball. I mean, Patrick had almost 500 yards against Tampa earlier this season. Tyreek Hill had over 200 yards in the first quarter. So now, again, I know Tampa Bay is going to probably learn from that, and they're not going to single Tyreek Hill, which is not smart. But again, I think the Bucs defense is good, but I just don't know that what they do will stop Patrick Mahomes, because stopping the run isn't going to affect the Chiefs. Again, you had mentioned everyone, if you pressure any quarterback, he's going to struggle. But the Bucs need to be able to do it without blitzing. They were able to do that in Green Bay. With the tackle situation for Kansas City, that may be Tampa Bay. I think, Brian, for Tampa Bay to win, they have to force at least 2 to 3 turnovers. If they do that, I think they have a puncher's chance. But if they don't force turnovers, I don't think it's going to matter what else they do.
Going to be a good ball game. Tennessee, good old Rocky Top. They finally they cleaned house and got rid of Phil Fulmer and Jeremy Pruitt, and we'll still see whether they have to pay Pruitt. They're trying to get out of paying Pruitt his contract. But the first thing they did, they hit a home run hiring Danny White as their athletic director, which completely shocked me that they would have the good sense to hire a guy that's as good as Danny White is. But then Danny White turns around and it's the most head-scratching hire. I've got my theories for it, but what do you think about Josh Heupel on Rocky Top? Do you think Kirby Smart and Dan Mullen and Nick Saban are going to be losing any sleep over him being at Knoxville?
I think the rest of the SEC is probably laughing and celebrating. I was in shock. I think Central Florida fans, Brian, are probably happy that he's gone.
Well,
tells you all you need to know about
that's going to be a better job. Central Florida job, they may be able to get a better coach than what Tennessee did.
Yeah, because you're already seeing it's the best job right now in the non-Power 5, and you can win there definitely. The thing about Heupel, I don't get this hire. He's gotten worse each year that he's been there. This is a guy that got fired at Oklahoma, which the program he led to a national championship. He doesn't have SEC ties. He's not a guy that to me is going to excite a fan base, and I don't know how he's going to help recruiting. It's just a curious hire. I guess unless everyone else said no, and we just don't know all the details. This just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. It seems like a lazy hire because it's like, well, I'm just going to go get the guy that I had before, because surely you would think they could have gotten someone better than Josh Heupel at Tennessee.
Well, especially when you spend $120,000 with a search firm to go out and
Yeah.
find a coach, and that's what you end up with. I think it's a bad job. They're getting ready to get hammered by the NCAA.
That's a good point.
Yeah. When you lose 9 coaches to cheating, and you literally throw yourself on the sword and get rid of all of them to try to spare yourself too much pain, but it says a lot. I do believe that search firm probably reached out to 2 or 3 guys that they thought they could get. The guy at Coastal Carolina, the guy at Buffalo that used to be with Danny White, some folks like that. And I get the feeling that he was told no by all of these coaches. I really do believe that Josh Heupel was probably way down the list, but he at least he knew what he was getting. I do believe this. If Danny White thought he was a bad coach, even though he may not be his first, second, third, or fourth choice, if he thought he was a bad coach, I don't think he would hire him. And he may know more about what was going on. I mean, for instance, at Central Florida, they had 10, 15 opt-outs this past year when they went 6-4. I don't know why. I mean, I do know that Scott Frost built that program, and Heupel was undefeated the year he followed him, and then lost 3 games the next year. I don't know what the reasoning behind that was. Cincinnati's obviously passed them as the team in that conference, but Josh Heupel is not. I'm just knowing. I used to live up there, and I can tell you the Big Orange Nation is not happy right now.
Yeah, no, I have a couple of Vol friends, and they're not excited about this hire.
But I think that at this point, they are so beaten down over what's gone on for about the last 10, 15 years there, that they're not even as outraged as they were when they mutinied when the word got out that Greg Schiano might be the coach. So we'll see. The thing about it is they need to recognize who they are. You get these schools that have this overinflated sense of self. We know about a couple of them here in this state, just saying, okay? And they need to understand, no, we're not going to beat Alabama and Georgia and Florida. We got to worry about beating South Carolina and Kentucky and Vanderbilt right now and get it back to that level,
Yeah, the one thing that does crack me up about this whole hire with Tennessee, I heard multiple people wanting Lane Kiffin, and I'm like,
he's not going there.
Let me get this straight. The guy that bailed on you after 1 year, you want him back, and for him to bail on another school after just 1 year. Why would you want that person leading your program? It's just funny how outrage goes away quickly to something else, and I can't believe people thought he was even a candidate. So
well, and I know that the majority of people in Knoxville were really, really wanting Hugh Freeze. There's no way you can hire a guy that got run out of the SEC because he was on probation and had gotten all kinds of problems with the NCAA. You can't hire a guy like that when you just fired a guy that just did the same thing. Okay.
Maybe they can hire Hugh Freeze in another 3 years.
Could be
another 3 bad years.
And it could be 3 years from now, they'll be looking for another coach, which is part of their problem. So, last thing, I saw that Major League Baseball, the players, and we'll let you go, voted against the proposal to, I guess.
They did vote against it.
My understanding was they voted against it. The Players Association voted against the proposal for a shortened season. And once again, after not voting anybody into the Hall of Fame, baseball is the biggest train wreck on the planet. I just don't even care about baseball anymore. I don't know about you.
No, I don't. And I just don't understand. And look, I'm not pinning all of this rather on Major League Baseball or the MLBPA. but I think they're all tone deaf. Again, you look at what the world, this country has gone through in the last year. Somehow, all these other leagues have been able to figure it out without very much negative pub. I mean, look, I know not everyone agrees on everything, but they've been able to figure it out. The NFL was able to get through an entire season and got it figured out. The league and the Players Association working together. It's Bryan. It's like my two daughters arguing and fighting over every little thing. And and sometimes one is right, sometimes the other. But I just don't understand how they're so tone deaf. And reading the article on ESPN, I was just shaking my head. Like, some of the things are just ridiculous, what they're arguing about. And, it was my understanding reading this last article by Jeff Passan from ESPN that the players were still going to get all their money, but they don't trust the commissioner, and the league doesn't trust the Players Association. And I'm like you, I'm to the point now, I don't even care if there's a season because I don't plan on watching. And, the funny thing is, baseball players make unbelievable money. And I'm like, who watches these games? Like, I couldn't tell you 10 superstars in Major League Baseball right now because I've totally tuned it out. Like, I'm tired of it. So
I'm with you.
And the Hall of Fame, no one gets voted in. I mean, that's where we are as a sport.
And not only that, that Schilling belongs in there.
Absolutely.
And the only reason he wasn't voted in there is because some pencil neck sports writers decided they didn't like what he tweeted out. Hey, listen, the Hall of Fame is filled with jerks.
Oh yeah.
Okay? I mean, come on, give me that moral crap. That high ground.
Ty Cobb wasn't.
Yeah, exactly. So hey, Steve Carlton's in. He never would talk to the media. I mean, he refused to talk to the media his entire career. Steve Carlton's one of the greatest pitchers of all time. You can't leave him out of the Hall of Fame just because he was a jerk to the media. Now, Barry Bonds, I don't care if he ever gets in, but that's a whole nother story. All right, I know you've got to run. Do want to say, please watch the podcast, share it, leave comments. Again, for the 5 of you who stick around every week, thank God. And enjoy the Super Bowl. We'll come back the following week, and we'll talk about who won the thing and who lost. And I'm betting that Patrick Mahomes is going to be hoisting another trophy.
Very good chance.
All right, Ryan Peterson, Brian Houston. It's Bryan and Ryan. Thanks, Ryan. Hope you have a great week. All right.